Hello, and welcome to Day by Day True Crime Stories, the podcast where we explore a different crime or justice milestone from this day in history. I'm your host, Kona Gallagher, and today is June 27th. On this day in 1996, Anne Marie Fahey, the bright and dedicated scheduling secretary for Delaware Governor Tom Carper, went out to dinner with a man she was trying to leave behind. That man was Thomas "Tom" Capano, a powerful attorney, a political insider, and someone Anne Marie had grown to fear. After that dinner, she vanished. What unfolded next was a story of control, obsession, and murder, one that shook Delaware to its core. Today, we're looking back on the tragic murder of Anne Marie Fahey. Let's get started. Anne Marie Fahey was known for her poise, her professionalism, and her kindness. The youngest of 6 kids from a devout Catholic family in Wilmington, Delaware, she worked hard to rise in the ranks of state politics. She landed a job in the governor's office and quickly became a trusted aide. But behind her composed exterior, Anne Marie was struggling. In 1994, she met Thomas Capano, an older, well-connected attorney who had served as chief counsel to a former governor. To outsiders, Tom was polished and charming, but he was also married with 4 children, and his relationship with Anne Marie was anything but healthy. Though he initially told Anne Marie that he was separated, he remained very much a married man. Still, he swept her off her feet with gifts, trips, and attention. At first, she was drawn in, but the closer they got, the more possessive and manipulative he became. In her private diary, Anne Marie wrote candidly about the emotional toll the relationship was taking on her. She described Tom as a master manipulator who made her feel small, anxious, and dependent. He was jealous and controlling, and when she tried to end things, he guilted her and made her feel unsafe. But by 1996, Anne Marie had had enough and she was trying to take her life back. She'd started dating someone new and she was hopeful for a new future. But Tom wasn't ready to let her go. In her final diary entry, she wrote, quote, "Last night was it. I will not be hurt anymore. I will not be manipulated. I will not be controlled." End quote. Yet, just weeks later, she agreed to meet Tom for dinner. Maybe to give him closure, or maybe out of fear. That dinner happened on June 27th, 1996. And after that night, Anne Marie was never seen again. Anne Marie was reliable to a fault, so when she didn't show up for work after the weekend, alarm bells went off immediately. Her coworkers knew that something was wrong. Her brother Brian went to her apartment. The lights were on, a fan was running, and her purse and keys were inside. But Anne Marie was gone. Then he found her diary. The entries painted a clear picture. She was scared, and she had been trying to end things with a man who wouldn't let her go. The family called the police. The governor's office released a statement. Flyers with Anne Marie's face went up across Wilmington and Philadelphia, and the search began in earnest. Tom Capano, of course, became the immediate focus. He said that they'd had dinner, but that he dropped her off at home afterwards. But that didn't add up. Her apartment looked as though she had never returned. And Capano seemed oddly calm. As investigators looked closer, his story began to crumble. Capano told police that he had nothing to hide, but they quickly discovered otherwise. Phone records and witness interviews poked holes in his alibi. And then, months into the investigation, his younger brother Gerard came forward with a devastating confession. Gerard told police that Tom had called him in a panic, saying that Anne Marie had died in his house. No details, just that it happened. Tom needed help, and Gerard agreed. They stuffed Anne Marie's body into a large cooler, loaded it onto Tom's boat, and dumped it miles off of the New Jersey coast. The details were horrifying. The cooler, which they had borrowed from another brother, was later found floating in the Atlantic. It was stained and damaged, but sadly, it was empty. Anne Marie was no longer inside. Even though they didn't have a body, prosecutors now had a witness, a timeline, motive, and physical evidence. For months, Capano had used his influences and resources to cover up a murder, but now he was out of time. Capano's trial in 1998 was a media frenzy. He was a charming political insider who was now accused of a heinous crime. The press and the public ate it up. Prosecutors didn't have a body, but they had Gerard's testimony, the cooler, and Anne Marie's own words. Her diary laid bare the torment that she had endured. Quote, "He tells me I'm a loser. He makes me feel bad about myself." End quote. Prosecutors said that Capano couldn't stand losing control. Anne Marie was moving on, and he snapped. When she tried to end things once and for all, he killed her, and the jury agreed. On January 17th, 1999, Capano was found guilty of first-degree murder. A few months later, he was sentenced to death. Over the years, he filed numerous appeals claiming everything from ineffective assistance of counsel to flawed jury instructions. His legal team also argued that the death sentence was disproportionate, particularly given the absence of Anne Marie Fahey's body. In 2006, a federal appeals court vacated his death sentence, citing constitutional concerns. The court upheld his murder conviction, however, but his sentence was reduced to life without parole. Capano remained behind bars at the James T. Vaughn Correctional Center in Delaware, where he was considered a high-profile inmate, though his influence had long since vanished. His health began to decline in the 2010s, and on September 19, 2011, he was found dead in his prison cell. The cause was cardiac arrest. He was 61 years old. For the Fahey family, there was relief, but no real closure. Anne Marie's body was never recovered. Her family was denied the opportunity to lay her to rest and was forced to grieve without a grave. But her legacy lived on. In 2000, author Anne Rule published And Never Let Her Go, a best-selling true crime book that chronicled the case in detail. A TV movie of the same name aired on NBC in 2001, keeping Anne Marie's story in the public eye. But more importantly, it became a cautionary tale about emotional abuse and the dangers of power imbalance in intimate relationships. Anne Marie Fahey is remembered not as a victim, but as a smart, caring woman whose life was taken far too soon. Her story continues to resonate not just because of the man who took her life, but because of the strength that she had shown in trying to reclaim it. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Day by Day True Crime Stories. If you found Anne Marie's story compelling, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. It'll help us grow. And be sure to join me again tomorrow as we explore another significant event in true crime history. Until then, stay safe and remember that behind every headline is a life worth remembering. Day by Day True Crime Stories is a Little Monster production.
Hey, you can do it!